President Trump going ahead with allowing the H200 chips to head to China with some conditions, of course, that sales cannot exceed 50% of total amount of chips sold to American customers. And of course, they need to be verified by a third-party independent. It needs to be reviewed effectively. In terms of this tech race, the race going on between U.S. and China, how do you see things unfolding this year? Because last year we did have a huge headwind, which was the Trump policy and trade, but that was countered by the huge tailwinds of AI. Do you expect that to continue to be the case this year?
This is a really important issue in the relationship between the two countries, Emily, because the trade balance is certainly something that draws a lot of attention on both the economic and political fronts. But if one thinks about the manufacturing sector in both countries, the U.S., from the time of the Biden administration, has been relying on what we think of as the new technology industries: green energy, electric vehicles, high-tech manufacturing, artificial intelligence. Now, of course, Trump has rolled back some of that progress in terms of electric vehicles, clean energy, and so on. But the shift towards higher technology industries is certainly something the U.S. is very keen on, especially when it comes to maintaining its lead or dominance in AI. These are precisely the industries that China is counting on for its own manufacturing revival. And of course, China seems to be dominating some parts of this sector already, especially when it comes to electric vehicles, solar panels, and so on. And it certainly doesn't want to cede the ground on AI. So this is a really existential battle between the two countries in terms of their high-tech manufacturing sectors. So at some level, it is very surprising to see Trump allowing commercial interests to take precedence over what one might consider longer-term national economic or security interests by giving China access to some of these chips. Now, of course, these are not the highest-end chips that Nvidia has, so one could argue that Trump is trying to have it both ways, increase Nvidia's ability to sell into China with the U.S. government, participating in some of those profits, while at the same time keeping China from being at the cutting edge of AI technology. And of course, we've seen a very interesting reaction from China as well, that it is in fact trying to fend off, sales of these chips in China and trying to increase self-reliance. But this is a very interesting battle, and it's taken a shape that I had not quite expected. I thought, as had long been the case, that the U.S. would prefer to restrict access that China has to these chips. But again, with Trump, it's very hard to tell what short-term benefits he sees as potentially overriding the longer-term interests of the U.S.